meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.
On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle, doing Live 1, sessions 33 and 34. So many of us do think that we're manifesting from the past. We constantly focus on what happened yesterday, and we spend a lot of time kind of reliving it. And when you relive something, it actually causes you to create more of it. One of the ways I frequently talk about how we can make things better is to actually imagine for a second what is a better world that you can imagine? What is better than we currently have right now? How could your life be improved? Imagine that for a few moments every day, and you'd be amazed in the difference that you would help make in the world. It's a powerful thing. It's one of the many, many things that Law of One I think is really cool with. Session 33, which we're going to get into in just a segundo, color therapy. It's a neat concept, and it definitely works. I think there's good ways to do it. They have a good answer, in my opinion, for how I think a lot of us, sometimes being in the brain, like thinking in your mind that it works perfectly, actually is super powerful in its own right. But the reason they give is actually pretty cool, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, programming is something that's very interesting. The concept of how, one, we can program ourselves, which is kind of what beliefs are to a degree. Two, how we're programmed by powers outside of ourselves. And how, from a soul level, we actually sometimes throw programming into the works within our own lives to help steer us into a different direction. So programming is a wonderful thing, and it kind of gets into the concept of catalyst. And really a catalyst is just an unexperience. Well, it's something that helps speed up a process is what a catalyst is. But generally it's an experience that helps guide us into another direction rather quickly, faster than what would have happened had we continued to keep making the same thoughts and errors and judgment and whatnot. So it's a powerful movement, and I think understanding it and seeing it when it's happening to us and appreciating what it is, and like I said, understanding it. You know, the difference between, I was on Sabine S. Honnes's show, Sabine Jones 39, sorry. She did an interview, and I talked about how the difference between master and student when it comes to dealing with life is the master understands when something happens to you, it was supposed to happen. It did happen for a reason, and thusly there's another avenue forward. A door closes, well, obviously one's opening, or a window's opening, or something's opening. And a student doesn't get that. A student will spend time in the phase of panic. That's really the only difference. When you kind of live life consciously, you'll experience something very differently than a lot of people around you. And you'll be at ease and content when things may seem strange to others, but you're like, I know I'm okay. I see it every day. I get confirmation of this. It's powerful stuff. Session 33, Law of Ra, Law of One. Again, there is only one creator. There is only one God. I don't think any of this ever separates from that. It starts that way, it ends that way. That's a really important connection, common ground to understand, right? We may differ on some of the different semantics within the middle of all that, but ultimately, we agree on something very, very common. Here's session 33. Again, color therapy, programming, manifesting, law of attraction kind of is in that a little bit. And of course, the catalyst concept of life, how we sometimes need help adjusting our ways. Hopefully what this show is to a lot of us. It's on the Fringe. Law of One, Session 33, recorded March 1st, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. I communicate now. Questioner, in our last session, you cautioned each to look well to the vital energies necessary for non-depletion of the instrument and the contact level. Did that mean that Jim and I should look at the instruments or be careful of the instrument's vital energies or be careful of our own vital energies? Ra, I am Ra. Each entity is responsible for itself. The mechanics of this process taking place involve, firstly, the use of the physical bodily complex of third density with its accompanying physical material in order to voice these words. Thus, this instrument needs to watch its vital energies carefully, for we do not wish to deplete this instrument. Secondly, the function of the supporting group may be seen to be firstly that of protection for this contact, secondly that of energizing the instrument and intensifying its vital energies. This supporting group has always, due to an underlying harmony, been of a very stable nature as regards to protection in love and light, thus ensuring the continuation of this narrow band contact. However, the vital energies of either of the supporting members being depleted, the instrument must then use a larger portion of its vital energies, thus depleting itself more than would be profitable on a long-term basis. Please understand that we ask your apology for this infringement upon your free will. However, it is our distortion understanding that you would prefer this information rather than being left totally to your own dedication distortions, deplete the instrument, or deplete the group to the point where the contact cannot be sustained. Questioner, can you give us advice on how to maintain the best possible condition for maintaining contact? Ra, I am Ra. We have given information concerning the proper nurturing of this channel. We therefore repeat ourselves only in two ways in general. Firstly, we suggest that rather than being, shall we say, brave and ignoring a physical complex weakness distortion, it is good to share this distortion with the group and thus perhaps, shall we say, remove one opportunity for contact which is very wearying to the instrument in order that another opportunity might come about in which the instrument is properly supported. Secondly, the work begun in harmony may continue. Harmony, thanksgiving, and praise of opportunities and of the Creator. These are your protection. These are our suggestions. We cannot be specific, for your free will is of the essence in this contact. As we said, we only speak to this subject because of our grasp of your orientation towards long-term maintenance of this contact. This is acceptable to us. Questioner, thank you very much. The instrument has a device for so-called color therapy, and since we were on, in the past sessions, the concept of the different colors, I was wondering if these in some way apply to the principle of color therapy and the shining of particular colors on the physical body. Does this have any beneficial effect, and can you tell me something about that? Ra, I am Ra. This therapy, as you call it, is a somewhat clumsy and variable useful tool for instigating in an entity's mind-body-spirit complex an intensification of energies or vibrations which may be of aid to the entity. The variableness of this device is due firstly to the lack of true colors used, secondly to the extreme variation in sensitivity to vibration among your peoples. Questioner, I would think that you could achieve a true color by passing the color through a crystal of a particular color. Is that correct? Ra. I am Ra. This would be one way of approaching accuracy in color. It is a matter of what you call quality control that the celluloid used in the varying color. This is not great or even visible variation. However, it does make some difference given specific applications. Questioner. Possibly the use of a prism breaking white light into its spectrum and then screening off the parts of the spectrum except that which you express to pass through the slit and use. Would that be better? Would this be true? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Thank you. I was wondering if there is a programming of experiences that causes an individual to get certain catalysts in his daily life. For instance, as we go through our daily life, there are many things that we can experience. We look at these experiences as occurring by pure chance or by a conscious design of ours, like making appointments or going places. I was just wondering if there was a behind-the-scenes, I might call it, programming to catalyst to create the necessary experiences for more rapid growth in the case of some entities. Does this happen? Ra. I am Ra. We believe we grasp the heart of your query. Please request further information if we are not correct. The incarnating entity, which has become conscious of the incarnative process and thus programs its own experience, may choose the amount of catalyst, or, to phrase this differently, the number of lessons which it will undertake to experience and to learn from in one incarnation. This does not mean that all is predestined, but rather there are invisible guidelines shaping events which will function according to this programming. Thus, if one opportunity is missed, another will appear until the, shall we say, student of the life experience grasps that a lesson is being offered and undertakes to learn it. Questioner. Then these lessons would be reprogrammed, you might say, as a life experience continues. Let's say that an entity develops a bias that he actually didn't choose to develop prior to incarnation. It is then possible to program experiences so that he will have an opportunity to alleviate this bias through balancing. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is precisely correct. Questioner. Thank you. Then from this I would extrapolate to the conjecture. I will say that the orientation in mind of the entity is the only thing that is of any consequence at all. The physical catalyst that he experiences, regardless of what is happening about him, will be a function strictly of his orientation in mind. I will use as an example apparently being deleted, this being a statement of the orientation in mind governing the catalyst. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. We prefer not to use any well-known examples, sayings, or adages in our communications to you due to the tremendous amount of distortion which any well-known saying has undergone. Therefore, we may answer the first part of your query, asking that you delete the example. It is completely true to the best of our knowledge that the orientation or polarization of the mind-body-spirit complex is cause of the perceptions generated by each entity. Thus, a scene may be observed in your grocery store. The entity ahead of self may be without sufficient funds. One entity may then take this opportunity to steal. Another may take this opportunity to feel itself a failure. Another may unconcernedly remove the least necessary item, pay for what it can, and go about its business. The one behind the self, observing, may feel compassion, may feel an insult because of standing next to a poverty-stricken person, may feel generosity, may feel indifference. Do you now see the analogies in a more appropriate manner? Questioner. Yes, I do. Then from this I will extrapolate the concept, which is somewhat more difficult, because, as you have explained before, even fourth density positive has the concept of defensive action. But above the fourth density, the concept of defensive action is not in use. The concept of defensive action and offensive action are very much in use in this, our present experience. I am assuming that if an entity is polarized strongly enough in his thought in a positive sense, defensive action is not going to be necessary for him because the opportunity to apply defensive action will never originate for him. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is unknowable. In each case, as we have said, an entity able to program experience may choose the number and the intensity of lessons to be learned. It is possible that an extremely positively oriented entity might program for itself situations testing the ability of self to refrain from defensive action, even to the point of physical death, or self, or other self. This is an intensive lesson, and it is not known, shall we say, what entities have programmed. We may, if we desire, read this programming. However, this is an infringement, and we choose not to do so. Questioner, I will ask you if you are familiar with the motion picture called The Ninth Configuration. Are you familiar with this? Ra, I am Ra. We scanned your mind complex and see this configuration called the Ninth Configuration. Questioner, this motion picture has brought out this point of which we have been talking, and the entity, the kernel, had to make a decision at that point. I was just wondering, with respect to polarity, his polarization. He could have either buckled under, you might say, the negative forces, but he chose to defend his friend instead. Is it possible for you to estimate which is more positively polarizing, to defend the positively oriented entity, or to allow the suppression by the negatively oriented entities? Can you answer this even? Ra, I am Ra. This question takes in the scope of fourth density as well as your own, and its answer may best be seen by the action of the entity called Yehoshua, which you call Jesus. This entity was to be defended by its friends. The entity reminded its friends to put away the sword. This entity then delivered itself to be put to physical death. The impulse to protect the loved other self is one which persists through the fourth density, a density abounding in compassion. More than this we cannot and need not say. Questioner, thank you. As we near the end of the master's cycle, there may be an increasing amount of catalyst for entities. I am wondering if, as the planetary vibration mismatched somewhat with the fourth density vibrations and catalyst if increased, if this will create a slight amount of more polarization, thereby getting a slightly greater positive harvest because of this catalyst, and in the same way create a more negative polarization and then get a slight amount more negative harvest by this mechanism of transition that is, unfortunately, somewhat more catalytic than would be if the planet had reached a higher state of consciousness. Does this happen? Ra, I am Ra. The question must be answered in two parts. Firstly, the planetary catastrophes, as you may call them, are symptoms of the difficult harvest rather than a consciously programmed catalyst for harvest. Thus, we do not concern ourselves with it, for it is random in respect to conscious catalysts such as we may make available. The second portion is this. The result of the random catalyst of what you call the earth changes are also random. Thus, we may see probability, possibility, vortices going towards positive and negative. However, it will be as it will be. The true opportunities for conscious catalysts are not a functioning of earth changes, but of a result of the seniority system of incarnations, which at the time of the harvest has placed in incarnations those whose chances of using life experience to become harvestable are the best. Questioner, is this seniority system also used for service to self side for becoming harvestable on that side? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. You may ask one more full question at this time. Questioner, okay. What I would like for you to do is list all the major mechanisms designed to provide catalytic experience that do not include interaction with other self. That's the first part of the question I'll ask. Ra, I am Ra. We grasp from this question that you realize that the primary mechanism for catalytic experience in third density is other self. The list of other catalytic influences, firstly, the Creator's universe, secondly, the self. Questioner, can you list any subheadings under the self that would, or ways that a self is acted on catalytically to produce experience? Ra, I am Ra. Firstly, the self unmanifested. Secondly, the self in relation to the societal self created by self and other self. Thirdly, the interaction between self and the gadgets, toys, and amusements of self, other self-invention. Fourthly, the self-relationship with those attributes, which you may call war and rumors of war. Questioner, I was thinking possibly the catalyst of physical pain. How does this go under this heading? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. It's going under the heading of the unmanifested self. That is, the self which does not need other self in order to manifest or act. Questioner. Do we have enough time left to ask the second part of this question, which is to list all major mechanisms designed to provide the catalyst that include action with other self? Do we have enough time for that? Ra. I am Ra. You have much time for this, for we may express this list in one of two ways. We could speak infinitely, or we could simply state that any interaction betwixt self and other self has whatever potential for catalyst that there exists in the potential difference between self and other self. This moderated and undergirded by the constant fact of the Creator as self and other self. You may ask to this question further if you wish specific information. Questioner. I believe that this is sufficient for the time being. Ra. I am Ra. Do you have a brief query or two before we close this working? Questioner. Just a minute. I think that everything I could ask at this time would be brief enough. Just a minute. Sounds papers shuffling. Yes, there's one question. Is there any different in violet ray activity or brightness between entities who are at the entrance level to fourth density, positive and negative? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. The violet ray of the positive fourth density will be tinged with a green, blue, indigo triad of energies. This tinge may be seen as a portion of a rainbow or prism as you would know it, the rays being quite distinct. The violet ray of fourth density negative has in its aura, shall we say, the tinge of red, orange, yellow, these three rays being muddied rather than distinct. Questioner. Just as a slight appendage to that question, what would the rays of fifth and sixth density look like? Ra. I am Ra. We may speak only approximately. However, we hope you understand, shall we say, that there is a distinctive difference in the color structure of each density. Fifth density is perhaps best described as extremely white in vibration. The sixth density of a whiteness which contains a golden quality as you would perceive it. These colors having to do with the blending into wisdom of the compassion learned in fourth density. Then in sixth, the blending of wisdom back into a unified understanding of compassion viewed with wisdom. This golden color is not of your spectrum, but it is what you would call alive. You may ask one more question briefly. Questioner. Then I will ask if there is anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra. I am Ra. This working as well. You are attempting to be conscientious. We thank you. May we say we enjoyed your vision of our social memory complex drinking one of your liquids while speaking through this instrument. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai. I think that last comment about the drinking, I assume he was visualizing them having a drink together or something, and must have been where that came from. That's my guess. Anyway, I got a bunch of stuff on this one. I hope you guys are interested because, again, covered some major ground. So Thanksgiving is protection. What a lot of people don't understand is you actually are in charge. You are extraordinarily powerful. When it comes to your own being, you are the most powerful thing around. There's nothing that's more powerful than you. Okay? When it gets out to co-creating and stuff, we're getting into different waters altogether. When it comes to you absolutely are the number one, numero uno creator. So Thanksgiving, thank you for my protection. Thank you for always allowing me to be protected. Thank you for constantly putting a shield of protective light around me. The armor of God concept, for a lot of people, they're like, put on your armor of God. For sure. You should never take it off. First off, it's silly. And so a lot of people do not understand the power they possess. They worry about everything outside of themselves. Oh, it could get me. It might get me. The beams will come in. Like, well, no, they don't have to. You can protect yourself. You are the most important aspect of you. You are. There's nothing more beyond that. I mean, God, of course, source, sure. But nothing beyond that. So Thanksgiving. Be thankful. That's a way to look at it, because thanksgiving or thankfulness gets you thinking in the positive direction. There's no way to be thankful for some crappy experience. Thank you for punching me in the face. Right? Like, you don't do that. It's thank you for this wonderful meal. Thank you for this blessing. Thank you for, that's what you are thankful for. And it changes your thinking. Now, mind, body, spirit is kind of similar to mind, I think, is kind of like thought, right? So what you think. Body, that's where the color stuff, this gets into that color spectrum. This is where my mind was at when this part was written down. But the body, you can use the colors on. So if you're coupling these together, by the way, and spirit is sound, I think. These three technologies, thought, color, sound, can heal beyond words. You're interested in something like that? If you're worried about healing, these are some of the directions you're going to want to go. There's some wonderful sound vibrations that are going to help you. There's some wonderful colors that can definitely help you depending on which area. Chakras will give you an idea. The colors tie into that. And your thoughts about things. Dis-ease exists for a reason. A lot of people don't understand the key to healing is not necessarily having a med bed fix you, but it's actually the mental dis-ease in our mind that created the sickness to begin with. And so, yeah, you could med bed the heck out of yourself, but if you haven't changed the thought process, you're ultimately going to manifest illness quickly, especially if we turn the volume up on your laser out of your eyes ability, right? Like your skill. Like if we turn it up because you start getting good at it, if you haven't figured it out, you're going to hurt yourself. So more rapid growth. It's just this is one of the things he was talking about with catalysts and trying to program the catalyst. And there are people and there are ways, and I did it too, kind of accidentally, sort of. I guess I kind of knew it at a core level. I don't want to say exactly what I did because I know a bunch of people would do it and just make things difficult on themselves unnecessarily. But rapid growth is understanding how things work. And if I'm consciously taking the reins and there's something I want to learn about, think about Neo, and I'm going to give this will be the best hint I can give. Neo from, what was it, Matrix, right? And he's like, I know Kung Fu. That concept, how he got there, what was happening to be able to do that, that concept is up to you. And if that doesn't make sense, meh. But it is your choice. And what you choose, you experience. And if you wish to experience something in specific or in growth or in a way, you have that ability to enhance your level. You should always keep in mind to the point that you can sustain, because you don't want something that's just overwhelming. And everyone always says, this is kind of an adage, just even if you've gone way down the spiritual path, but God never gives you more than you can handle, right? He might take you right up the friggin' edge, but he won't push you over it, ever. So there is ways to enhance your experience. It's up to how hard you want to live through life. How many wrinkles can you handle on your face? How about that? So mind is the tool that we learn to guide. Like the mind is kind of how we experience everything. Things are shown to us. Our mind is what interprets it. God created this beautiful place. Like this is for us to understand and learn. This is a playground. That's how you get to 4D. Really getting up into the green ray. We've talked about it a lot, but the green ray energy is where you get into the fourth density positive. They talk about that later too. So the green ray, fourth density positive, definitely. You've got to learn love. Love's got to be a key ingredient. If it's not a key ingredient, you're probably either A, trying to graduate the other direction, or B, you're not going to make it this round. No biggie. Each of us is our own creator. The best example I can always give and continue to give, I mean, obviously everything you experience, you see, for the most part, like 95% of it is 100% you. It is our creation that we experience on a daily basis, whatever it is, every moment where you're like, I am conscious of myself is 100% you. Okay. You're thinking thoughts, you're doing things, you're wasting time, you're spending time, you're deciding time, you're investing time. Depends. A lot of us do it differently. A lot of us waste time, or a lot of us let other things take our time for us. I'm guilty of it too, so don't get me wrong. But there is a level of what am I doing with my time that most of us don't appreciate. We are the creator. And right now, as a creator, we're being bombarded with opportunities to create stupid stuff or to waste our creative abilities thinking about things that don't matter or don't exist or can't exist, or even to focus into things that cause fear or to cause even more manifestation from a standpoint of war and global wars and things like that. So what we believe personally will be our experience. If some of us believe, oh my God, it's going to be horrific, there's going to be this crazy experience that's going to happen, oh my God, you're probably going to experience something that's crazy. For the people that are like, I'm pretty sure I'm in a good place, God's always looking out for me, I'm protected, I got my armor of God on, that will be your experience. It will be. And your neighbors will probably benefit from it. It's one of the key things that's going to keep us safe through the trials that we go through in the short days, is how do we view it? Do we understand as a master that the problem that we're going through is for us to get through? There must be a way, and to be that way and be strong. Or are we supposed to run around like a chicken with their head cut off? Which, both are entertaining. It's much like the Macarena. It's kind of a fun dance. It can be. It can be. Catalyst, pain, war, there's a couple examples, but there's places on this planet, there's people that aren't plugged into the internet. There's people that are well aware. Or let's put it this way, there's people that are absolutely ignorant that there's any sort of wars or violence going on. Maybe they're on an island in some location, but just go with me for a second. These same people are on this same sphere island thing, right? The same world. And they're not aware of all the things going on in this world. The only thing they're aware of is what is in their direct world. And do you think at one time in their existence they worry about nuclear annihilation? No. Do you think they're in fear for that? No. Are they maybe in fear for I got to feed myself today? Or maybe they've got that dialed in. But the idea of what we're freaking out about most of the time doesn't exist. And the question is, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one to see it or nothing to see it, does it make a noise? Much the same. Do you really need to know that the earth is in this chaos right now? No. And how much of that's us? How much of that's us just tuning into that frequency? Again, learning to control up here is the key, guys. That's why I love this stuff. Let's see. Aura, fourth and fifth. So the aura was just a cool question, or a cool part real quick, was the aura. If it's a green fourth density positive, it's somebody that's gotten past the great leap, as I like to call it. You've gotten to the fourth density. It's the green ray. It's the green energy. So it's going to have a green color. And then it will have tinges of the other potential colors, maybe below, but ultimately it'll have the higher colors. Because once you open up the green, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, and seventh actually become become attainable much easier. Until you open the fourth, you'll never open the fifth. You can't skip the fourth, is what the point is, kind of. All right, so the aura would be very different. You're going to have more of the blue and violet kind of hinges in the aura when you're looking at it, versus somebody that's going to have more of your yellows, reds, orange, like those colors. And that same fourth, they can still graduate, by the way. Fourth density, it'd be fourth density service to self, essentially, though, at that point. But they're going to have those lower chakras. They haven't opened that upper chakra. That's actually what happens when they go to sixth density and they finally unite back with themselves. They have to do it through that kind of heart area. So again, it's a very different path. Let's see. Fifth is white color. So the fifth density, I think positive. So when you think of a color, it's white light. But one of the reasons why I always say surround ourselves in the golden white light is that's the sixth density, which I believe is actually where, quote unquote, the Christos or Christ is in that sixth density. So that's where that golden white light is actually, if you're going to put on armor of God, imagine it as such, a golden white light, and you will be girding the best of the best. Let's put it that way. All right. That's the stuff that actually works. All right. Going into, oh shoot, I got some questions. I think I heard my phone making a bunch of noise. Let's check real quick. Let's see. No questions so far. Okay. Rawalt's got a question. How do you put on the armor of God? Is it a manifestation of the mind? It's understanding that you are protected. If you say you are protected, you are protected. If you don't believe that you're protected, then your protection doesn't work. Your protection is yours. God gave you the ability to put on an armor. Believe it if it's him that did it, you that did it, you put it on, he made it. If it went to that special planet in the X-Men, or the, was it the Guardians of the Galaxy and all those guys get, right? Like they had that place where they made the special armor and the special sword and all that crazy stuff. Like if you've got to believe that's where it comes from, fine, then you got yourself some, like whatever you got to believe in your mind to believe that you've got the strongest stuff that's made. That's the difference. I know when I put on my armor, it works. And I can be very specific about it. If it's just certain things I'm trying to tune out, maybe, for example, 5G stuff or something in some weird way, right? Like trying to help myself deal with some of the frequencies that we're bombarded with, well, we can actually filter those things. We can actually create barriers of those things. So that's, it's up to you. That's my point. And that's you are the creator. You are in charge. You are the most powerful thing. It's hard to get. Maggie 130 asks, how do we help others to understand and be more productive? Are we to help others too, or only ourselves, which seems selfish? You can't force another person to do anything. The only thing you can ever do is be an example. They always say you can lead a horse to water, you cannot make it drink. Now, to think of it from that standpoint, some could say, well, you're only worried about yourself. Well, kind of, I am. Because if I don't get there and if I don't do it, I'll not make it. And hopefully you, and I'll even talk and give you an opportunity to join with, but hopefully you do the same. But I cannot make another do, right? I mean, anyone that's had children understands this, or certainly anyone that's even had a pet understands that you can no all you want, and it still doesn't make a bit of damn difference. So you can look at it as being selfish. I look at it as you try to spend your entire life getting other people to do stuff. And I'm saying this, and I'm not telling you you're doing this. I'm just saying if that's how you want to spend your life, trying to get other people to do stuff for yourself, you're going to find in a lot of cases people don't, and it'll be frustrating, and you'll spend a lot of time being frustrated. And that's certainly an opportunity, what they would call a catalyst, and that's cool. That's an option. Personally, I've found that if I actually see something that I don't like, generally I realize I'm projecting. So it's me creating this. So I got a finger pointed out. I got three pointing back at me. What is it that this person's bothering me with right now? And then I realize, I kind of do that. Oh, gross. So I stopped doing it. And then I don't notice people like that anymore. So there's that side of it. And we could call that selfish, but I don't know if that's actually even a fair assessment. But I think it's an awesome question. So good job, Maggie. I like that. Maggie's hitting up with another one. How do you see these colors? You kind of tune to it. It's not, I don't know, it's not hard to see auras. I will say one of the best exercises I used to see auras is you get a standard colored piece of paper. Usually works really well. White works super good. Black can actually be pretty good too, but you want a solid color, even solid color. You want a solid color behind. And if you take your fingers and you bring them together and then separate them and bring them together and separate them, you'll actually start to see this etheric outline bubble that touches and you can see it interact. And it'll be one of, I think, the easiest ways to see auras. And then from there, you'll start to, typically on a person, the head is a great place to look. Like you're going to see a lot of color. Typically, that's the strongest in the heart area, but typically the head's super strong. That's where their crown is. There's a lot of energy coming in that area. So it's usually one of the easiest places to see the aura when it comes to, people, I guess. Good questions. All right, Maggie, you're hitting me hard here. All right, let's go on to 34. Hang on. Come on. All right. We'll get back into more. This isn't the Maggie show right now. We will get more. I've got session 34, and this one kind of gets into karma, or what they call inertia, which I think is a super, super cool thing. And then catalyst, they give a bunch of examples. And catalyst is different ways things kind of play out in our world, in our life. And remember, you are the creator, even of the world that you live in. A lot of us are co-creating, sure, and we can get together and talk about things, but ultimately we still even sometimes see things slightly differently, don't we? Because our worlds are slightly different. It's beautiful. Anyways, session 34, again recorded back in March. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Of course, it's Law of One on the Fringe. The Law of One, session 34, recorded March 4th, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner. The instrument would like to know if 2 short exercise periods a day would be better for her than 1 long one. Ra. I am Ra. This is incorrect. The proper configuration of the physical complex exercising during these 3-month periods wherein the instrument is vulnerable to physical complex distortion intensifications needs the strengthening of the physical complex. This may be appropriately be seen to be 1 major period of the exercising followed late in your diurnal cycle before the evening meditation by an exercise period approximately 1/2 the length of the first. This will be seen to be wearing upon the instrument. However, it will have the effect of strengthening the physical body complex and lessening the vulnerability which might be taken advantage of. Questioner. Thank you very much. We'll start general questioning now. You stated at an earlier time that penetration of the 8th level, or intelligent infinity level, allows a mind-body-spirit complex to be harvested if it wishes at any time-space during the cycle. When this penetration of the 8th level occurs, what does the entity who penetrates this experience? Can you tell me this? Ra. I am Ra. The experience of each entity is unique in perception of intelligent infinity. Perceptions range from a limitless joy to a strong dedication to service to others while in the incarnated state. The entity which reaches intelligent infinity most often will perceive this experience as one of unspeakable profundity. However, it is not unusual for the entity to immediately desire the cessation of the incarnation. Rather, the desire to communicate or use this experience to aid others is extremely strong. Questioner. Is it possible for you to tell me what I experienced around 1964, I believe it was, when in meditation I became aware of what I would consider to be a different density and different planet and seemed to experience moving into that planet? Is it possible for you to tell me what experience that was? Ra. I am Ra. We see some harm in full disclosure due to infringement. We content ourselves with suggesting that this entity, which is not readily able to subject itself to the process of hypnotic regression instigated by others, nevertheless, has had its opportunities for understanding of the beingness. Questioner. Thank you. Would you define karma? Ra. I am Ra. Our understanding of karma is that which may be called inertia. Those actions which are put into motion will continue using the ways of balancing until such time as the controlling or higher principle which you may liken unto your breaking or stopping is invoked. This stoppage of the inertia of action may be called forgiveness. These 2 concepts are inseparable. Questioner. If an entity develops what is called karma in an incarnation, is there then programming that sometimes occurs so that he will experience catalyst that will enable him to get to a point of forgiveness, thereby alleviating the karma? Ra. I am Ra. This is, in general, correct. However, both self and any involved other self may, at any time through the process of understanding, acceptance, and forgiveness, ameliorate these patterns. This is true at any point in an incarnative pattern. Thus, one who has set in motion an action may forgive itself and never again make that error. This also breaks or stops what you call karma. Questioner. Thank you. Can you give me examples of catalytic actions to produce learning under each of the following headings from the last session we had? Can you give me an example of the self-unmanifested producing learning catalyst? Ra. I am Ra. We observed your interest in the catalyst of pain. This experience is most common among your entities. The pain may be of the physical complex. More often, it is of the mental and emotional complex. In some few cases, the pain is spiritual in complex nature. This creates a potential for learning. The lessons to be learned vary. Almost always, these lessons include patience, tolerance, and the ability for the light touch. Very often, the catalyst for emotional pain, whether it be the death of a physical complex of one other self, which is loved, or some other seeming loss, will simply result in the opposite, in a bitterness, an impatience, a souring. This is catalyst which has gone awry. In these cases, then, there will be additional catalysts provided to offer the unmanifested self further opportunities for discovering the self as all-sufficient creator, containing all that there is and full of joy. Questioner: do what we call contagious diseases play any part in this process with respect to the unmanifested self? Ra: I am Ra. These so-called contagious diseases are those entities of second densities which offer an opportunity for this type of catalyst. If this catalyst is unneeded, then these second density creatures, as you would call them, do not have an effect. In each of these generalizations, you may please note that there are anomalies, so we cannot speak to every circumstance, but only to the general rule or way of things as you experience them. Questioner: what part do we call birth defects play into this process? Ra: I am Ra. This is a portion of the programming of the mind-body complex totality manifested in the mind-body-spirit complex of third density. These defects are planned as limitations which are part of the experience intended by the entity totality complex. This includes genetic predispositions, as you may call them. Questioner: thank you. Would you give me the same type of information about the self in relation to the societal self? Ra: I am Ra. The unmanifested self may find its lessons, those which develop any of the energy influx centers of the mind-body-spirit complex. The societal and self-interactions most often concentrate upon the second or third energy centers. Thus, those most active in attempting to remake or alter the society are those working from the feelings of being correct personally or of having answers which will put power in a more correct configuration. This may be seen to be a full travel from negative to positive in orientation. Either will activate these energy ray centers. There are some few whose desires to aid society are of a green ray nature or above. These entities, however, are few due to the understanding, may we say, of fourth ray that is universal love freely given is more to be desired than principalities or even the rearrangement of people or political structures. Questioner: if an entity were to be strongly biased towards positive societal effects, what would this do to his yellow ray in the aura as opposed to an entity who wanted to create an empire of society and govern it with an iron fist? What would be the difference in the yellow ray activity in these two entities? Ra: I am Ra. Let us take two such positively oriented active souls no longer in your physical time-space. The one known as Albert, who went into a strange and, to it, a barbaric society in order that it might heal. This entity was able to mobilize great amounts of energy in what you call money. This entity spent much green ray energy both as a healer and as a lover of your instrument known as the organ. This entity's yellow ray was bright and crystallized by the efforts needed to produce the funds to promulgate its efforts. However, the green and blue rays were of a toweringly brilliant nature as well. The higher levels, as you may call them, being activated. The lower, as you may call them, energy points remain in a balanced, being quite bright. The other example is the entity Martin. These entities dealt in great degrees with rather negative orange ray and yellow ray vibratory patterns. However, this entity was able to keep open the green ray energy, and due to the severity of its testing, if anything, this entity may be seen to have polarized more towards the positive due to its fidelity to service to others in the face of great catalyst. Questioner: could you give me the last names of Albert and Martin? Ra: I am Ra. These entities are known to you as Albert Schweitzer and Martin Luther King. Questioner: I thought that was correct, but I wasn't sure. Can you give me the same type of information that we have been getting here with respect to the unmanifested self interacting between self and gadgets, toys, etc., inventions? Ra: I am Ra. In this particular instance, we again concentrate for the most part in the orange and in the yellow energy centers. In a negative sense, many of the gadgets among your peoples, that is what you call communication devices and other distractions, such as the less competitive games, may be seen to have the distortion of keeping the mind-body-spirit complex unactivated so that yellow and orange ray activity is much weakened, thus carefully decreasing the possibility of eventual green ray activation. Others of your gadgets may be seen to be tools whereby the entity explores the capabilities of its physical or mental complexes, in some few cases the spiritual complexes, thus activating the orange ray in what you call your team sports and in other gadgets such as your modes of transportation. These may be seen to be ways of investigating the feelings of power, more especially power over other groups, or of a group power over other groups of other selves. Questioner: what is the general overall effect of television on our society with respect to this catalyst? Ra: I am Ra. Without ignoring the green ray attempts of many to communicate via this medium such information, truth, and beauty as may be helpful, we must suggest that the sum effect of this gadget is that of distraction and sleep. Questioner: can you give me the same type of information that we have been working on now with respect to the self-relationship with war and rumors of war? Ra: I am Ra. You may see this in relationships to your gadgets. This war and self-relationship is a fundamental perception of the maturing entity. There is a great chance to accelerate in whatever direction is desired. One may polarize negatively by assuming bellicose attitudes for whatever reason. One may find oneself in this situation of war and polarize somewhat towards the positive, activating orange, yellow, and then green by heroic, if you may call them this, actions taken to preserve the mind-body-spirit complexes of other selves. Finally, one may polarize very strongly third ray by expressing the principle of universal love at the total expense of any distortion towards involvement in bellicose actions. In this way, the entity may become a conscious being in a very brief span of your space-time. This may be seen to be what you would call a traumatic progression. It is to be noted that among your entities, a large percentage of all progression has a catalyst, or trauma. And I guess this was supposed to be fourth ray up here. Finally, one may polarize very strongly fourth ray by expressing the principle of universal love at the total expense of any distortion towards involvement in bellicose actions. So that was a small correction. They have a hard time with the numbers. Questioner: you just used the term third ray in the statement. Was the term you meant? And says no. I am Ra. We intended the green ray. Our difficulty lies in our perception of red ray and violet ray as fixed. Thus, the inner ray of those which are varying and are to be observed are those indications of seniority in the attempts to form a harvest. Questioner: would the red ray, an intense red ray, then be used as an index for seniority, the seniority system of incarnation, as well as the intense violet ray? Ra: I am Ra. This is partially correct. In the graduation or harvesting to fourth density positive, the red ray is seen only as that, which, being activated, is the basis for all that occurs in vibratory levels, the sum of this being violent ray energy. This violet ray is the only consideration for fourth density positive. In assessing the harvestable fourth density negative, the intensity of the red as well as the orange and yellow rays is looked upon quite carefully, as a great deal of stamina and energy of this type is necessary for the negative progression. It is extremely difficult to open the gateway to intelligent infinity from the solar plexus center. This is necessary for the harvest in fourth density negative. Questioner: is it possible for you to use an example of our General Patton and tell me the effect that war had on him and his development? Ra: I am Ra. This will be the last full question of this working. The one of whom you speak, known as George, was one in whom the programming of previous incarnations had created a pattern or inertia which was irresistible in its incarnation in your time-space. This entity was of a strong yellow ray activation with frequent green ray openings and occasional blue ray openings. However, it did not find itself able to break the mold of previous traumatic experiences of a bellicose nature. This entity polarized somewhat towards the positive in its incarnation due to its singleness of belief in the truth and beauty. This entity was quite sensitive. It felt a great honor duty to the preservation of that which it felt by the entity to be true, beautiful, and in need of defense. this entity perceived itself as a gallant figure. It polarized somewhat towards the negative in its lack of understanding the green ray it carried with it, rejecting the forgiveness principle which is implicit in universal love. The sum total of this incarnation vibrationally was a slight increase in positive polarity, but a decrease in harvestability due to the rejection of the law or way of responsibility. That is, seeing universal love, yet still it fought on. Questioner, do we have enough time for me to ask if the death, almost immediately after the cessation of the war of this entity, could that have been so that it could be immediately reincarnated to possibly make harvest? Ra, I am Ra. This is precisely correct. Questioner, thank you. Then I will just ask if there is anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra, I am Ra. All is well. We leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one which is the all in all. I leave you in an everlasting peace. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator, Adonai. Again, a lot of powerful stuff. We'll see if we get some questions thrown in, but I'm going to start off with, so the eighth veil, or the eighth level, intelligent infinity. Essentially, this is the next place. This is, I guess, probably the closest thing to heaven. I don't know. And that's even to kind of that higher level extent. But this is, when people tap into it, this is, I think it's been called the Holy Spirit. I think this has been an energetic experience. Kundalini even, Shambhala is a place. There's just, like, it's that, the vortex. I mean, there's a lot of places when you tap into that eighth dimensional, eighth density energy, it is something that's profound. And I've certainly experienced it in my own ways. I did with the planet Earth one time, which was super cool. But yeah, I've had a few experiences that were powerful for me. And again, it's just one of those things where when you experience it, it's just like, it'll cause tears. Like it's just really cool. Karma being inertia, I actually like that. I think that's pretty cool. So karma is like, there's like bad mojo going in your life. And so every time it pops up, you kind of like push the wheel forward. You make it a little faster, right? And the only way to really stop these actions in our life, or these bad things that keep happening, just keeps happening, right? I always get cut off, or whatever it is, right? Like that thing that keeps happening, we want to stop it. And the only way to stop it is to forgive it and to stop doing it in return. And again, it's about what you're sending out to the world is what you're going to experience. Kind of another answer to that good question about, is it selfish or not? And it's like, what you send out is what comes back to you. I mean, I guess it's selfish kind of, but I mean, it's the responsibility. It was like, I think sometimes if we look and we are always trying to like help other people, which is fine, it's good, and it's a service to others is service to self, is all the same thing. But when we are trying to get other people, to do better and be better, a lot of times it creates a sort of like a situation where you can have this power over others, which is what we're calling the orange ray. When you've got a group of people and you're in charge and you can tell them what they must do, that's a very orange ray kind of level thing. But it's not, it's more of a service to self where you want to help them. It's because of you that they understand now this grandiose thing, rather than I'm going to make the change myself and then everybody around me suddenly starts behaving differently. It's kind of cool. So it's a really cool thing. I don't know. It's the hardest. I think it's one of the trickiest parts about understanding this whole concept of service to self, service to others, and even trying to explain it's painful. That said, so again, the only way to stop it's forgiveness. When you forgive, it's not for them, it's for you. Always. The forgiveness is slowing down the wheel, trying to slow it down and stop it, and you will stop it. You're having something that continues, stop doing it back, and you will instantly be amazed at how quickly it goes away. Manifesting is awesome. I wrote this. It just is. When you pay attention to what's going on, when you realize that what you send out is what comes back to you, when you finally make that connection, your whole life changes. It's just you finally realize you're involved in this. Again, a lot of us like to if they would do and this and that, but again, three fingers coming back. it's easier to put things outside of ourselves sometimes than it is to actually realize that I'm the creator of this. And it's a lot of responsibility. It's a little scary for a lot of people for good reason. Self versus other self. Again, kind of funny. I think I've covered that pretty good. Why would we have why do we have the traits in our life? Yeah. So what he spent some time talking about is how we show up with these specific abilities, specific traits, specific things that kind of get us into certain areas. He even referenced Albert and Martin Luther King and Albert Schweitzer, right? And he mentions these two people as specific individuals that came here with very specific skills and how these skills led them to certain areas in their lives where they had choices. And based off those choices, decided whether or not they graduated or not. And it's like a test. Like, you don't pass the test, you don't graduate. Well, but I tried. That's not how it works. You don't get a gold medal ribbon. You got to pass. You got to graduate. So they possibly died quickly. Well, at least the case of the general died reasonably quickly and came right back. So we are here right now as we should be. Whether or not there's some sort of defect that's affected you, then that's created this awareness in certain places in your life. Not that I can understand at all what it's like, but I had a very good friend that was wheelchair bound. And I spent a weekend with him for a work thing, and just understanding his life for 2 days was like, dang. Like, it just gave me a perspective. I don't know what it's like, but I tell you, I got way more perspective about the concept than a lot of people do. And so there are things that happen in lives for a reason. People have a hard time with this. This is one of the trickiest parts about a lot of the things we've been taught, is that we have actually a lot more to do with the way we are and why we are, for that matter, than we want to necessarily take ownership of. And again, it's law of confusion. Don't have to believe any of this nonsense. Orange, in the positive kind of sense, it's like sports, positive teamwork. And then, honestly, piloting was something that kind of really popped into me. Like, people driving cars, driving boats, driving planes. Like, if you're doing those, you're power over this big thing. Like, it's just a concept of power. That's orange ray energy. Like, that's kind of how these chakras work. There's like aspects of how they play out in our life, and it's usually pretty groovy. All right, 2 more. Almost all lessons come from pain. If you think about it, most everything that you've ever learned that really changed who you are, changed your course, changed your life, it sucked, huh? It wasn't a fun experience. Again, if you're not paying attention to what's happening on a regular basis, eventually you get smacked kind of hard to get you back on course. If you're paying attention, you'll start to notice how relationships deteriorating, or you keep, you're seeing certain things that I don't know. I don't want to give examples, but you start to see things manifest that are indicating, hey, this isn't good. And so you can start to change course without having to keep going down the not good path to where it has to be something major that forces the change. And that happens in a lot of cases. And finally, graduation. So for service to self, it's the lower chakras. Red doesn't matter. I mean, it's your root chakra. You didn't have it if it wasn't on. I mean, you wouldn't even exist, right? But yellow and orange, that's it. They don't got anything else. So it's just that grooviness of color. When it comes to the upper level graduation, the red chakra is there, but ultimately it's the green chakra. If you've managed to make that great leap, if you've managed to go to the love chakra, your color is going to be vastly different. So, huge difference between service to self, service to other paths. Both paths ultimately lead back to themselves. 6 density, everybody comes back home. All right, so it's not necessarily evil versus not evil. It's just 2 different ways to come at things, and graduation's very different. You need 95% service to self to graduate service to self. And for service to others, you just need to be 50+% service to others, and have opened that green ray chakra, and then you got it. You're graduating. So to me, that seems way easier, by the way. But that said, that's what we got. I don't know if we got any questions. We'll see if we do. I don't think I do. Just had the last question that Maggie had asked, which is about bright white versus not colors. And Maggie, we're all specific people, and so we're going to have specific things. You've mentioned some very interesting stuff that I think ties back to Egypt in your own life. I think you're going through a very unique thing that I think you're gonna ultimately you've got to find those answers. They can't come certainly in a source like this, but there's beliefs that you have that are limiting you from what your soul's telling you you should be doing. It's very much a Green Ray thing. In fact, this might be your great leap, is this thing that's going to drive you nuts until you finally do it. And that's usually how these things work. So maybe at that point you'll start seeing more colors rather than just white. I think a lot of these things tie together also because you can't really see the upper colors until you've gotten to at least green, and then you can start to. So all said, I got no extra questions, so we're good. Guys, thank you for another great show, a fun show. And yeah, I love we got Tattoo Tammy in there. We got Rewalt, Prozac, Projectile, Tattoo Pet is in here. Pet is a rock star, one of our, probably one of the teachers out there for sure. Student teachers. But yeah, a lot of good people. And I just appreciate you guys all cruising in. We'll do it again next week. I got a great music show tomorrow, too. Hope you guys, most of you anyways, will be there. And hopefully some of you guys even, I'll see on Saturday. That'd be fantastic. But love you guys. And again, just take ownership of the life you're living, and you will be amazed what starts to happen when you do. And I think that's a really powerful part. Don't put it off till tomorrow. Right now is the perfect time. It always is. Thank you guys for joining me. Law of One, session 34, 33. But thank you guys for joining me. It's on the Fringe.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a Big Bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The Big Bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.